Good morning, everyone. Who is excited to be here? Show of hands. And it's not going to hurt my feelings if you're not excited right now to be here. I get it. It's the first session. It's the last day of the conference. Who's maybe not too excited yet because they need a little bit more coffee? They spend a little bit too much time at the zoo having fun with the animals, the cocktails, the networking afterwards. That's okay. We're going to come back to you later and see how you're doing once that coffee hits. But I am excited to be here. I love conferences because you get to come together and you get to get remembered. You get to be reminded of why you do this. You get to meet other people in the field. You get to network. You get to get fired up, right? Every conference I go to, I leave that conference feeling so excited about that next day that I get to go back to work. Because we have these new ideas. We have these new things to implement. We have new things to bring to our team. We're so excited to get back. But then what happens? Same old. We get back, day one, we're excited. We're thrilled to be there. We have new things to implement. Day two, some adversity comes. Maybe that idea that you want to implement gets pushed back a little bit further. Maybe something comes up that now gets in the way. When you face this adversity, that's what we call nope. The nope, it's the adversity, the misinformation, the rejection, all the things that keep you and distract you from being who you were meant to be, the things that keep you from doing what you wanted to be doing. We call that the nope. My goal for this presentation is simple. We have an hour together. And in that hour, my goal is that you leave this presentation better than when you walked in. Is that a fair goal? And if I don't do it, maybe the coffee will. Our goal is that you leave here feeling better. Better about what you do, better about who you serve, and overall feeling better for your team. The way that we need to do that is not by motivation. Been asked a few times, are you a motivational speaker? And honestly, it makes me upset. Because motivation is short term. I don't want to be a short-term speaker. I want to do this for the long haul. And to do that, I say, well, I'm a disciplined speaker. And then people get worried because they hear the military special ops background, like, well, what's the disciplined speaking? Are you going to make us do burpees and push-ups and squats during the talk? No, we're not going to. If you want to do that, go for it, but do it in the back, and I might join you after. But discipline. Discipline is a value, it's a habit, it's something that we practice daily in order to get closer to that outcome that we want. Motivation is short-term. Motivation will fade. That's why there's so many motivational podcasts and motivational videos and motivational speakers, because you get that high, and then you face the adversity, you face the nope, and it goes away, and then you need it again, and then it goes away, and then you need it again. With discipline, you don't need that. With discipline, you stay moving forward regardless of what you're facing. Discipline requires practice. Discipline requires hope. We think of hope, and we immediately think that hope is wishful thinking. I hope that I can get better. I hope that I can implement this particular system. I hope that what I did was accurate. I hope that I can prevent X, Y, or Z. But hope is not what we've been taught to believe that it is. Hope is not wishful thinking. Hope is not passive. Hope is learned and earned, meaning that hope is a cognitive choice. Hope is a choice. And for hope, we need these three things. We need self-agency, we need goals, and then we need a framework to achieve those goals. Self-agency, the ability to respond versus react in situations. How many people like to react in situations? That knee-jerk reflex, something happens, you get fired up, you're trying to get that last word in, you're going to win that argument. That's a reaction. Responding is saying, my nervous system is overwhelmed, I need to take a quick pause, we're going to come back to this conversation, but I need to get my head right. Right? Because the classic saying is you cannot see a reflection in boiling water. So let that water calm down a little bit, and then come back into that conversation. In order to stay disciplined, we need self-agency. We need to stay disciplined when that pile of notes starts getting on our desk and papers scattered everywhere and emails are going off the chain and people are giving you all these extra activities to do. We have to stay disciplined in who we are and what we do. Goals, framework to achieve, pretty straightforward, right? If we have a goal, then we need a framework to achieve that goal. Before we dive further into hope, before we dive into modern neuroscience, I want to pause and I want to share with you one of the most important things that you're going to hear today. What I want to share with you is that I care about you. You are loved and you are valued. I want you to know that I care about you. What you do is important, and you are loved. Now what I want you to do is turn to your neighbor. And I want you to share that with them. It doesn't have to specifically be those words or that phrase, I care about you, you're loved, you're valued. I don't remember what this guy said, but share something about them that you value. Go ahead, share that with them. All right, so now I want you to turn to your other neighbor, your second choice neighbor. And I want you to share the same thing with them. Go ahead and practice that. I just got to say, phenomenal job. At most talks, when this part comes up, it's like crickets. Like, who do I turn to? What do I say? You guys hopped right into that. So wow. I'm excited for the rest of the talk, and I got to try to stay on time. It's gonna be a fun challenge for me. So we're gonna do one more practice with this. I want you to take out your phone, and I want you to turn the camera so that it's facing you. You know, normally that camera comes up and you immediately turn it or you put it down and you go, oh, disgusting! Keep that camera right on you, that front-facing camera. I'm gonna ask you to do things that are simple, but are very difficult. Simple does not mean easy. What I want you to do in that front-facing camera is I want you to look directly into your eyes. Not at your eyebrows, not at your nose, not at what's in between your teeth from breakfast. I want you to look at yourself directly into the eyes with no judgment. I want you to see yourself. I want you to smile because you're seeing yourself. It's okay to smile when you see yourself. That's a good thing. And I want you to repeat the message that you just told your neighbor to yourself. I'm truly impressed. I didn't even say that you had to say it out loud. You could have said it internally, but you guys said it out loud, and that was beautiful. What I want to share with you is what you just did is a practice of positive self-love, which goes much further than positive self-talk. We stated that the name of this is Together is Better If We Are Better. And this is just one small step of how we get better. Now, as the presentation goes on, I brought a super secret surprise. It's not anything from the zoo because I wasn't there yesterday, so no animals in the building. But what I want you to do with that practice that we just went through is I want you to know that it's free, it's simple to use, and that you can use it at any time. But one of the best times to use it is when that nope is piling up. You're starting to feel your back against the wall, overwhelmed, frustrated. How am I going to be able to do all these things? Take that step back. Know that you're loved, that you're valued, and what you're doing is incredibly important. So we're in agreement? When that post-conference high starts to fade away, you can pull up that phone and you can start to bring part of that back. The next goal is that you bring this to your teams. You bring this to your group meetings. Hey, I know we have a lot of points to go through, but before we get into that, I just want to let everybody know in here that I respect what you do and I recognize the hard work that you're putting into it. How many people would love to hear that on a weekly basis? That what I'm doing is respected, that I'm being recognized for the hard work that I'm putting into this. Bring that to yourselves. Bring that to your teams. There's no better way to start a meeting. Because there's that one person coming in on edge most of the time. You tell them that they're loved, that they're valued, and that they're cared about. All of a sudden their demeanor changes. The team demeanor changes. The meeting's a bit more fruitful. So I told you that I care about you. And when you care about somebody, what do? You learn about them, right? You want to get to know them a bit more. So how do you learn about a group of people? You go to social media and Google, right? Not the best way to do it, but that's what I did. I said, the HIM conference. Let me learn what HIM is. And something you should know about me, if you didn't get it from the intro, I love sports. Like, I love sports, but specifically, I love football. I specifically save any football series, documentary, anything that's done during the season. I save that when football season is over and watch that on Sundays to replace the football games that would be on at that time. Luckily, my wife is also a huge football fan, so it makes our marriage very great because we get to enjoy that together. But we love football, and there's less than 100 days until football starts back up. Training camps are getting started. I'm fired up. And when you go to search on social media and Google, I think we're all aware, this isn't new news to anybody, that they track what you do. They track your conversations. They track your searches, what you're interacting with. So it happens to be that my feed is mostly sports and football. So when I typed in HIM, this is what came up. What does I'm him mean? Explain the origin of slang term used by athletes from Joe Burrow to LeBron James, but we stuck with football. Any football fans in here? Thank you. If you're not a football fan, stick with me. I promise you're going to get something out of this talk. So I typed in HIM, what does HIM mean? And this article came up, and I started reading this article. Definitely didn't need to, but I was like, let's read it. I'm fascinated. Found Joe Burrow, 2023. He's playing out of his mind. He's mic'd up. He's kind of blacked out in the moment. He's beating his chest, and he says to his teammate, I'm him. Then became a little bit more popular. I'm him means that I'm super confident. I have this swagger. I'm playing, and I'm untouchable. Stephon Diggs. Any Bills fans, Buffalo Bills fans? So Stephon Diggs, I'm him. He's not him for Buffalo anymore, and you may be happy about that. You may be a little upset about that, but he's out of the situation. But Stephon Diggs saying I'm him. Jalen Ramsey with the Rams, same idea. I'm him. I love it when they count me out. So I got into further research because I don't like doing things at a superficial level. I like diving in deep. And what I found out is that there's levels to being him. If you are completely crushing it, you are then called himothy. You progress from him to himothy. And if you're the top of the himothies, then you may get an award from Scott Van Pelt called the Himmy that he gives on Monday Night Football to the player who had the best week previously. So I'm reading through this, and I said, I should probably focus and get back on topic. So that's what I did. And I typed it out, health information management. And that helped to clear out some of these football things that were popping up. And the first things that started coming up were the job outlook for health information managers, which is looking really positive. Next thing that came up were different schools and programs that you can do to become a health information manager. It was like, that's cool, get to learn a little bit more about this. Next thing that came up was basically just job descriptions of spots available for that. And I said, that's great, but I have my doctorate, I have my board specialty, I've been taught to ask more questions and go further and further into it. So I'm like, this is a great start, but where's the research? Where's the data in this? Because if I'm gonna be talking to a group of health information managers, I should probably know a little bit more about what that entails. And a job description is great, but where's the research? Where is this field heading? And so I dove into the more research. I typed in health information manager, peer-reviewed, published research. Good start on Google, right? Found 20 different articles. And I started reading through each of them, and each one brought a little bit more info, a little bit more knowledge to me. And as I'm reading these 20 articles, I'm looking for the pattern. What's the pattern between these 20 different articles? And what I noticed is that these 3 words kept coming up over and over and over again. And I went back to the job descriptions, and these 3 words were in it. And I went back to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and these 3 words were in there. These 3 words, when describing health information manager: bridge, quality, and availability. Those 3 words: bridge, quality, availability. Bridge. What's the bridge mean? It's a bridge between the gaps between clinician and provider, clinician and patient and systems, patients and getting scheduled. The bridge between everything that keeps the glue together of healthcare. That's a pretty important bridge. The next word, quality. This got broken down into quality of accuracy, prevention, and protection. Availability makes sense. You need to have the records available. You need to have scheduling available. You need to have these things available for people for the communication to continue. So these 3 words, I thought, wow, what an incredibly important position. But I couldn't help but think from a patient perspective, something that was missing. To me, the phrase that was missing in this research of health information management is blind trust, which simply stated is faith. So let me give you an example of this. Think of it this way. If I'm a patient, I start to feel a little bit off. My health isn't quite where I want it to be. But I know if I just keep waiting, it's going to get better. Right? That's what we all do. Just give it a little bit, I'll be fine. Sometimes it is fine, other times it's not. And when it's not fine, we start to get a little afraid. We start to get a little uncertain. And at that point, we have to build up the courage to say, I need help. And then for me to get help, I have to call a place and set up an appointment with a person that I don't know much more than that they're available and that they have credentials. And by available, we're usually looking at like a 2-month window right now. So now they're sitting in uncertainty to go meet a stranger that they trust is going to take care of their health. In order for them to do that, they understand that they have to share some of their deepest and darkest secrets with this provider that they're just meeting. And then they have to walk away from that appointment trusting that those secrets that they shared are going to be safe. Trusting that the secrets that they shared, if they get referred to another provider, that provider is going to have access to those secrets so they don't have to share the same story over and over and over again. Quick side note. I was on a clinical in the cardiac ICU. And there's definitely, as much as I want it to be a team, there's definitely a hierarchy. I was there as a student physical therapist. My job on that unit was to see, are you able to go home and finish out your rehabilitation at home? Or do you need to go to a nursing facility to have rehab and help there? So I ask simple questions. What's your home setup? What are your stairs? How many railings do you have? What's your support system? So I go into his patient's room, I ask those questions, he gives me those answers, I put them into the chart. All right, now I want to see what you can do objectively if that matches the threshold that you need to be able to get home. Pretty simple, right? Can you do some stairs? Do you need help with it? So I finished the chart, we're getting ready to get out of bed. If you've been in the cardiac ICU, you've seen that, you know how many lines and tubes and how long the setup actually takes. So we get all set up, we get him ready to get out of bed, knock on the door. Hey, good morning, I'm the resident from PM&R, just got a couple questions I need to ask you. Okay if I jump in? Yeah, sure, go ahead. Hey, just wondering how many stairs you have, what's your support system? What's your setup at home? I'm like, oh, that's cool. Could have read the note, but got it, awesome. All right, thank you. So he heads out, another knock on the door. At this point, we're sitting at the edge of the bed getting ready to stand up. First time the person's been out of bed since the surgery. Nurse next to me, I'm there. Next person comes in. Hey, I'm a resident here in the cardiac ICU and I just got a couple questions for you. How many stairs do you have? Do you have a hand railing? Do you have a support system at home? I'm like, okay, you didn't have to read my note, but you could have read the PM&R note. They walk out. Another knock on the door. Hey, I'm the fellow on the floor. A couple of questions we want to talk about. What's it like at home for you? You got a hand railing, you got stairs. What's your support system? You didn't have to read my note, you didn't have to read the PM&R note, you didn't have to read the resident note, but you could have talked to the resident and gotten that info. Now we're 30 minutes into the person sitting on the edge of the bed, fatigued, and they have to get out of bed and show if they can go up and down stairs. Now after answering the same question for the past 30 minutes, guess what happened? They said, yeah, I'm not so willing to do this anymore. I'm going to go ahead and lay back down. So guess what my recommendation had to be? You have to go to the nursing home. How much does a nursing home cost to go there for a couple weeks? Good amount of money, right? Something that could have been completely prevented had there been better communication. Our patients are trusting that when they come in, that their secrets are protected, that communication is going to happen so that situation doesn't arise. They're also trusting that the billing that occurs is going to be accurate, that they don't get slapped with a big heavy bill. Most people do not know their insurance packages. All they know is that they have it. Here's my insurance card, it does something, and then they get a bill. Where did that come from? Well, your deductible wasn't met. What's a deductible? When patients come in and they have the courage to say that I need help, they are putting their faith and their blind trust into people that they never may see, that they may never interact with. And they're saying, I trust you to protect my secrets. I trust you to implement a system that's going to allow communication to happen, that we can be more efficient throughout my time in this care. And now I know who's behind the scenes doing all of this. And I work in the field. So I'm just here to say that I recognize you. And I value all the hard work that you put into this because it's truly incredible. So as I was going through that, another thought came up. And that thought was, there's no way that we can base this talk on football. And then I thought about it more, and I said, yes, we can. So that's what we're going to do. And again, if you're not a football fan, it's okay. Stick with me. You're going to get something out of this. What's one of the most important positions in football? Quarterback. Who's a football fan? Raise their hand for me. Let's go right here. Who's your favorite team?
Chiefs.
Oh, no way! Oh, that couldn't have been better. I'm a Chiefs fan.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, and not like yes, Mahomes era, but I'm talking like Trent Green, David Heward. Like, I go back. Wow. Oh, I'm so sorry. All right, back on track.
Vikings, Rams, Arkansas. That's how far back I go.
All right, so Chiefs quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. Let's get another team.
Vikings.
Vikings. Bills, quarterback. Josh Allen. Vikings, present day quarterback.
J.J. McCarthy.
J.J. McCarthy. So let's go back to the Chiefs. Who is their blindside tackle?
Blindside tackle. Good question.
Does anybody know the Bills' blindside tackle? I feel like you might know the Vikings' blindside tackle.
Unfortunately, no.
If it's new, you know.
All right, so you're probably asking the question, what is a blindside tackle? And I'm going to walk you through that. I'm going to step away from the microphone, but I'm going to talk really loud so that you can hear me in the back. Sound good? If you cannot hear me, wave your hand and say, hey, speak up, yell it out louder. Good? All right. So we have a play here up on the board. The O's are the offensive side. The only person on the offensive side with an X with a square around it, that's the center, but they still belong to the offense. So all the O's on this side, this is the offense. The offense possesses the football. Their goal is to take this football and get it into the end zone, and if they get it into the opponent's end zone, then they get points. Whoever gets the most points wins. The defense is the X's here. The X's want to prevent that from happening. They want to disrupt the offense. They want to steal the football. That's their role. All right, so we have X's are defense. The O's are our offense. The offense, the blindside tackle, most quarterbacks are right-handers. So we're going to pretend this is a right-handed quarterback in this demonstration. Quarterbacks here, for the quarterback to interact with the field, they're in this position. Meaning that they can see this way, they can see this way, and they can see here. What they cannot see is their back. They cannot see their blind side. This is the blindside tackle. Right there. Blindside tackle protects the quarterback when the quarterback cannot see what's coming at them. The blindside tackle has to look at the defense and say, I agree with your call, but I'm seeing something different on the defense, so we need to adjust the line in order for this play to go off. Because ultimately, if this blindside tackle does their job, they serve as the bridge of the quarterback getting the ball to a playmaker to go and score. The blindside tackle, the bridge, protect, prevention, working hard in the unseen, because how many people knew the blindside tackle's name? Blindside tackles don't want recognition. They go in and day out and they do their job and they work hard, they put their head down and they grind and they say, I don't care if I don't get patted on the back, but when you do, I greatly appreciate it. Blindside tackle. The blindside tackle is our health information managers. See, I told you we're going to spin it back. The quarterback. Quarterback right here, talks about the quarterback. The quarterback delivers, gets the ball, calls the play, gets the ball to the playmaker so that they can go score and get points. The quarterback in this situation is the healthcare provider. We got one more position to fill. That position is right here, the wide receiver. I am so excited about the Chiefs offseason and the receivers that we got coming in because last year was difficult. So the wide receiver, what they need to do is say, I want the ball. If you're a Bills fan, you know Stephon Diggs said that a lot. I want the ball. But in order for me to get the ball, I trust that if you have it and I do the play that you called and you do your job, that I'm going to get the ball down the field in a better position so that we can go reach that outcome. The wide receiver is the patient. There's one thing left that we need to cover in this analogy before we move forward. And for that, we're going to need the super secret surprise. The whole game is based off of this one thing. The football. This sets the line of scrimmage. This sets where everyone lines up. The offense wants to go score this thing. The defense wants to take this away. The football itself is health. The patient is saying, I need help to get this outcome. I'm going to give this to you, and I'm going to trust that if I give you that you're going to call a play, that you're going to create a plan, that I'm going to be able to go down the field, and at a later time, you're going to give me this health back, and I'm going to be in a better situation. In order for me to do that, the blindside tackle does their job, the quarterback does their job, and we got to make sure the defense does not get this. So what I want to do, we're going to pass this around. When this gets to you, I want you to write, I hope this works.
I tested it.
When this gets to you, I want you to write one positive thing on this football. Could be a phrase, could be a word, could be a smiley face. Your call. When it gets to you, write something positive on it, send it back to the next person. We're going to keep passing it around. We'll see how far it can get before the talk ends. You get to kick it off. Blindside tackle, health information manager. What are some of the biggest challenges that the health information manager faces right now? I'll tell you one of the biggest things that we're facing is that 9 out of 10 wide receivers don't know the play. A survey done showed that 9 out of 10 Americans are health illiterate, meaning 1 out of 10 Americans are health literate. Meaning that when our quarterbacks are calling the play, they have to triple make sure that the receiver knows what they're going to be doing. Because if blindside tackle does a job, the quarterback does a job, but the receiver runs the wrong route, what happens? Health is dropped. The football either drops or it's intercepted. So we need to make sure our wide receivers know what's happening. We need to make sure they know what the play is. And when they say that they know what it is, you tell them what it is again. And then you send an email describing the plan again. That's one challenge. But another challenge that the blindside tackle faces is that the game is getting faster. It's getting much faster. Paper charts are going away. Everything is electronic. With it being electronic, we know that it is incredibly faster for people to get their test results, to have connections to providers, to have access to what their billing info is. Everything is faster. Everybody wants more efficiency. They want it faster. The blindside tackle has to try to manage a game that is so much faster. Another challenge that's being faced. This came from 2023, and I was looking back at 2022 healthcare data breaches. The number one cause of data breaches were hacking, IT incidents. The defenses are getting faster, they're getting wiser, and they're attacking more frequently. These are the biggest problems, at least from this research that I looked at, that health information managers are facing. So I found this review. So if there's a problem, then there has to be a solution. We don't just talk about the problem without having some type of solution. So this review study looked at a bunch of different articles, and they pulled this together, and they found that they identified these 3 things that they thought could help confront this healthcare management crisis that we're heading into. Centrality of human resource constraints. Need more people. Need more people doing the job, right? Necessity of collaboration amidst competition. A need to reconsider the approach to leadership. My favorite part on this slide, utility of humility. What is humility? It's recognizing that we have strengths and we have weaknesses. How many people know their strengths? How many people have been taught, go work on your weaknesses? That works for an athlete, like your physical body, like, yeah, you gotta go crush your weaknesses to become a better athlete. An individual athlete. We don't have many blindside tackles running deep routes or throwing the ball. Some are. Humility allows us to recognize that we have strengths and we should lean into our strengths, and that we have a team, and the team can help pick up our weaknesses. When I first started practicing, I thought I could do it all. I was scheduling, I was cleaning, I was seeing the patients, I was helping out with billing, I was doing sports coverage. I was doing 80, 90 hours a week, and I was like, I can do this. This is great. And my mentor said, no, you can't. You got to slow down. And I said, you're wrong. I'm fine. And 2 years into it, yeah, he was right. I had to pull back. But to pull back, I needed humility to recognize I can't do it all. So I want you to say this with me, because this statement helped me a lot. I can do a lot, but I cannot do it all. All right, say it with me. First part. I can do a lot, but I cannot do it all. Because something we haven't talked about yet. We talked about the blindside tackle, the quarterback, the wide receiver. There's these other people on the line. There's a guard, a center, a guard, a tackle, a tight end. In the backfield, we got 2 running backs that also help this whole play move forward. We're seeing that data breaches are the number one thing, IT stuff. Health information managers teaming up with health information technologists. The people that can prevent these hacks from happening. Saying, hey, I'm really strong in what I do, but that side of it, Can we get someone on the team that has that strength that is able to do that? And the team going across the running backs. The other thing we have on here is the other wide receiver. This wide receiver sometimes just runs a decoy, just to fake out the defense. Hey, we're going this way. So the defense goes that way, and then it opens up this person down the field to receive the football or their health back from that provider. So it's time that we get as creative as the defense is. We set up decoys. Hey, follow this decoy over here. Go ahead and hack this fake patient. Go ahead and steal all their data. Spend all your time there. I actually had a roommate back in the day who would stay on the phone with scammers for 2 hours to prevent other people from getting scammed. And I said, why are you doing that? And he goes, it's my service to society. And he enjoyed doing it. But he was setting up the decoy where the defense was not able to attack him. So it's time for us to get creative. And being a Kansas City Chiefs fan, we have one of the most creative offenses in the world. Both by the coach, but also by the players on the team that help to create that offense. We need everybody on the team stepping up and talking and saying, this is what I'm seeing, this is where I need that help. Humility. To have humility, we need perspective. So we're going to switch gears away from football for a little bit. And we're going to dive into some modern neuroscience. Not too much science. This isn't a full lecture on neuroscience and brain patterns and all that, but perspective. And to have perspective, we have to understand how the brain works. But before that, I want to share this quick story with you that comes from Peter Drucker. There's 3 stonecutters. A man goes up to the first stonecutter, and he asks him, what are you doing? The first stonecutter says, cutting this rock. Okay, great. He goes to the second stonecutter. He says, what are you doing? And the second stonecutter says, well, I'm cutting this stone, and in doing so, I make some money, and that money helps provide for my family. And so that's great. He goes to the third stonecutter. He says, what are you doing? He looked up with a gleam in his eye and a smile on his face. And he said, I'm building a cathedral. I'm cutting this stone so that it can be made into a cathedral. That cathedral is going to change society for generations to come. I'm cutting this rock to make this world a better place. All 3 are doing the same job. All 3's perspectives are different. So before we go further, I want to ask a simple question. Which stonecutter are you? Right now, in this moment. Are you the first stonecutter? Well, I'm just coding. I'm just protecting this. Are you the second stonecutter? Hey, I don't hate it. It provides for my family. are you that third stonecutter? And my goal is if you're the first stonecutter, that we can transition you to the second stonecutter. And if you're the second stonecutter, you can start dabbling and thinking about that third stonecutter perspective. Because here's what I'm going to share with you where some more of the research brought me when I was reading through this. Health information management. This study was done in 2024. It concluded medical errors have more recently been recognized as a serious public health problem, reported as the third leading cause of death in the United States. Up there with chronic disease and all the other things that you hear about, but what's not talked about is medical errors are now listed as the third leading cause of death in the United States. Are medical errors preventable? 100%. Next one. Improve survival of non-small cell lung cancer after introducing patient navigation. They concluded this. Patient navigation is a valuable tool to improve cancer outcomes by facilitating more timely and complete cancer diagnostics. We're going to jump a little bit ahead and then we'll come back, because what we need to know is that cancer is a scary diagnosis. It's hard to go through. We have a few family members that are going through that right now. And what we found is that the cancer is scary, but what's even more scary is the uncertainty. Here's the diagnosis. We don't know the stage. We don't know if it's spread anywhere. We don't know if you need radiation, chemo, a combo of both of those, or just surgery. But we'll have that answer in 3 months. Meanwhile, our loved ones are sitting there for 3 months, wondering what their future looks like, wondering what they can tell their grandchildren, wondering what they can tell their children. All because the navigation wasn't put in place. Sometimes the uncertainty of an illness is worse than the illness itself. And I'm not saying that cancer is not a bad thing, because it's a terrible thing. But when people have to sit in the uncertainty of what the treatment's going to be, who they're going to be able to see, when they're going to be able to get in, is the insurance going to be able to cover this? That experience of suffering, in some cases, is greater than the illness itself. So this is where I think that you guys are the third stonecutter. You're putting your head down. You're working hard. You're not asking for this recognition time and time again. But you're saving lives. You're decreasing unnecessary suffering by having improved navigation systems. So I hope that can help shift you a little bit towards that third stonecutter. And to understand perspective, we got to understand how the brain works. And the brain, simply stated, works by prediction. It takes in all this incoming input. What's the atmospheric pressure? What's the temperature? What's my blood chemistry? What have I eaten today? What are my previous memories, my previous experiences? It takes in all this data and then decides on its output. Symptoms are an output. Behavior is an output. Perspective is an output. So I want to dive into some of the neuroscience of how the brain works by prediction. A simple one's right there. I actually got to write this in my book. The editor was okay with it. You can read that and figure out what it says, even though it's spelled incorrectly. Simple example of how the brain works by prediction. Let's go a little bit further. Who were our people struggling this morning? Too many cocktails, too much fun at the zoo. It's okay, just raise your hand. So I wouldn't have mentioned that in the intro if we were not going to come back to it later on in the presentation. So we're going to look at a couple studies. 2 are alcohol related, and then for our non-alcohol people, we're going to talk about milkshakes. So I think that's a great replacement. First study here, they looked at wine and wine tasting ratings. They had subjects taste wine from a bottle that was expensive. bottle from France, award-winning wine, best wine that you can get. They had another bottle that was from the grocery store. So they had the subjects taste it, and then they write down what they thought of that particular wine. And the subjects reported that the wine that was in the more expensive bottle, and that they perceived was more expensive, tasted better than the wine that was from the grocery store. What they didn't know is that it was the same wine, put into two different bottles. So there's two things you can take from this. One is that our brain works by prediction. And two, you can save a lot of money with your dinner guest by getting one empty bottle of wine and dump that $5 one in there, and you'll save yourself some money. All right, we're going to switch over to beer. Try it, you'll like it, the influence of expectation, consumption, and relevance on preferences for beer. So in this study, they have all these different studies that you can sign up for, but you never get the info or the invites for these ones. You get the ones for like, hey, take this medication, let's see what happens. Hey, let's give you this little shock with this machine and see what happens. Like, these are the studies you want to be a participant in. So, this one, try it, you'll like it. They had subjects take sips of beer. And one can was labeled that had a special ingredient on it. Special ingredient. What happens when we see special ingredient? We get pretty excited. I know that special ingredients mean that it's some type of secret family recipe that they can't share with me, and that it's going to make it so much better. So they sip it, and they sip the other one that was the control sample, and they rated that the special ingredient beer tasted better. The special ingredient was vinegar. They put vinegar into the beer, and they thought the beer tasted better because they knew it was a special ingredient, but they did not know that it was vinegar. So two quick examples of how our perception, our prediction changes our taste behavior. But I want to take it a step further with a milkshake study because it's not just a thought and an output, but it actually physiologically changes how our body interacts. So in this study, they looked at milkshakes, and they had a group come in and they had two different milkshakes. One milkshake was the indulgent milkshake, the sugary, fatty treat, whipped cream, chocolate syrup on top, the milkshake that you want. The second milkshake was called a Sensi shake. This one was the health-conscious, non-GMO, gluten-free, zero carbs, that type of milkshake, the Sensi shake, the health-conscious milkshake. And they looked at the hormone ghrelin. What ghrelin does is ghrelin tells us that when it's released and ghrelin increases, it says, it's time to go get more food. I need more calories. When ghrelin decreases, it tells our body, we don't need more calories, we're full, we're good. So subjects had the milkshakes and they looked at the ghrelin levels. What they found is the group that had the indulgent milkshake had a dramatic decline in ghrelin, meaning they felt full after having that fatty, sugary milkshake, the indulgent one. The group that had the Sensi shake had an increase in ghrelin. They had the Sensi shake, well, that was good, but I need more calories, that wasn't filling. The milkshakes were the same, the exact same milkshake, but their thoughts about what the milkshake was from their previous beliefs and what they've been taught changed their physiological behavior with that implement. So our brain works by prediction. We'll start wrapping up here. I want to ask you this question. What's the prediction that you're telling yourself? It's a question we don't ponder that often. It's a question we don't really think about too much. What am I telling myself about myself? What is my strongest thought? And I'll very quickly share what my old prediction used to be of myself. I'm dyslexic, and I was in special help classes through most of middle school and elementary school. I never thought that I could go on to get my doctorate, to get my specialty, to be a professor, to write a book. I didn't know where a comma went. I before E, I don't get that. I had to find patterns to make that work. But that was my belief for the longest time, is that I'm not capable. I'm not enough. And luckily when I was in junior college, because that's where I started off, because I thought that was the peak of my performance was junior college. I thought that's what I'm capable of. And one of my friends politely redirected me and said, Why don't you just go for it? We all say, what if? Well, what if it works? What if you actually surprise yourself with what you can do when you put your head down, put the critics aside, and start moving forward? And I'm so happy that she shook me. And I'm so happy she did that, because if she didn't do that, I wouldn't be here today. I had to change my prediction of myself. What's that prediction of yourself? And how do you start to change that prediction so that you can improve yourself? Because when we understand that we have value, we start to understand our purpose. And when we understand our purpose, we become excited about the service that we provide to other people. We don't only get fueled up at conferences, but we stay fueled up. Day after day after day, we face adversity, and it doesn't matter, because we know who we are, we know our value, we know our purpose, we know what we do. We're able to exercise humility, and by doing that, we can understand how to value other people. We understand that we can do a lot, but we can't do it all. I'm sure a lot of you in here have tried it. Similar to my story. You tried it all and you couldn't do it, and eventually you had to ask for help. It's time to exercise humility and say, I need help, before I even recognized that that help is needed. We understand that together is better if we are better, as in you and me and everyone on the team takes that extra step to improve themselves by changing the predictions our brain makes about ourselves. We need teamwork more than ever to deliver health. Where's the football at? How good's your arm?
They are adequate for what I normally
Perfect. I'm going to ask you a question. Can you just hold that football up for us? Thank you. You're going to hold that there. Everyone's going to stare at that football. We understand that football is health. And as a team, it's our role that we do not drop this football. It's our role as a team that we make sure the defense can't get access to this football. But more than that, we just put a positive impact on health, because the football is health. So my challenge for all of us here is, can we get out there and make a positive impact on health and not drop that football? Thank you all so much for having us.